families of the school. This webinar is being brought to you by Action for Healthy Kids. My name is Jill Camber-Davidson. I am the School Program Manager here at Action for Healthy Kids. And I'm also our manager of our CDC Cooperative Agreement. We focus on nutrition policies and programs, and this webinar is one of our outreach efforts. Today we are going to discuss smart fundraising and share ideas for healthy school fundraising and answer any questions you have. As a reminder, today's webinar will be recorded. Everyone is currently muted, and a link to the recording and slides will be sent out following the call. If any questions come up for you, please enter them into the question box or chat box that you see on your screen, and then we will take whatever questions we can at the end of the webinar. Funding for this webinar was made possible by an 1101 cooperative agreement from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC. The views expressed in written content materials or publications and by the speakers and moderators do not necessarily reflect the official policies of the Department of Health and Human Services, nor does mention of trade names, commercial practices, or organizations imply endorsement by the U.S. government. Here's our agenda for today. First, we're going to look at why healthy fundraising is needed, provide a very brief overview of smart snacks. Then we're going to dive into some ideas for fundraising that support a healthy school environment. And then we have 4 great guests with us today who I will introduce with the success stories. And then we will conclude with some resources. Most schools hold 1 to 5 fundraisers each year. We know that fundraisers are time-honored traditions. They support local school activities, including class trips, athletic programs, and the purchase of school supplies that are unfortunately not included in many tight school district budgets. Fundraising at schools provides many activities, groups, events, and it provides students the opportunity to interact with the community. Now, I want each of you to think to yourself, what was the last fundraiser held at your school or in your community? What was the group sponsoring the fundraiser, and what was the purpose of the fundraiser? Was there a goal? And most importantly, did it support healthy children? Was it a healthy fundraiser? Typically, fundraisers are listed here: vending, bake sales, school stores, candy sales, restaurant night, cookie dough. Unfortunately, these fundraisers can undermine student health and nutrition education efforts. For example, many fundraisers support sports and activities by selling foods and beverages that aren't good fuel for students or the individuals buying them. And this undermines the healthy behaviors we try to encourage. Food fundraisers do appeal to our impulse. Children and teenagers don't fully understand the consequences of their own actions, and they definitely don't want a delay from the gratification that comes from eating something tasty. Even when children have the knowledge and the desire to eat healthy, their brains usually aren't fully developed enough to the point where they can resist these impulsive behaviors, the temptation of food fundraisers, and immediate gratification, especially when their environment is full of advertising and readily available food choices that are not as nutritious. So we look at our fundraisers and talk about them. How will we teach our children, and how will our children learn to make healthy choices with these conflicting messages? When it comes to fundraising, it's often easier to continue with what we've always done: raise money using treats like candy, chocolate, and fast food coupons. But what message are these fundraisers sending? I know it's really tough to change school culture, and it's scary to think about what we may do with this proven source of revenue we had and reach out into trying something new or unknown. But it's also very important to send consistent messages to our students about health. And we need to make healthy choices the easy choice. That's hard to do when candy bars are within sight of the salad bar. All these conflicting messages, as I said, are confusing. So we need to be purposeful about sending our message about how to be healthy. Many of you got a survey link that asked about the biggest barrier to healthy fundraising at school. And as you would expect, the top reason was fear of change or losing revenue. In fact, over half of you listed that as the biggest barrier to healthy fundraising at school. So why do we want to do healthy fundraising? And now that I've gotten you thinking about it, let's look at some options for raising money in a healthy way. Let's put our fundraising efforts to work to support healthy children and families and promote a healthy school culture at the same time. So think about that healthy school environment. There are many opportunities for students to learn and practice healthy behaviors at school. In class, especially health education and physical education, they learn about nutrition and healthy eating, physical activity, and good health practices. The students look at ways to support those activities that are taught in class. One way to help with the fundraising is the Smart Snacks guideline from USDA. And under Smart Snacks, USDA has sought to balance the needs of schools to conduct occasional fundraisers while still ensuring that students have access to healthier foods and beverages during the school day. The Smart Snack guidelines went into effect on July 1st of 2014, and they were part of the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act of 2010 that required all school districts that participate in the USDA school meal patterns and school meals to set nutrition standards for all foods in school. These are federal guidelines. So it is important to realize that there may be additional policies enacted by your state and your school district that can be stricter than these federal guidelines. Particularly related to Smart Snacks, those of you who answered the survey, again, pointed out that fear of losing revenue is one of the barriers to implementing Smart Snacks in school. In addition, lack of knowledge, understanding, or expertise on Smart Snacks led the way as the biggest barrier to the implementation. So I'm hoping the webinar today will give you a little more information, at least on the fundraising part, and some resources that you can go and dig into the Smart Snacks piece as well. When we look at the standards for Smart Snacks, and these are the foods that are served at school or for fundraising, the foods that can be sold, there is a big difference between the calories of foods before the standards and after the standards. This infographic shows how the Smart Snacks in schools improves the nutritional value of these snack choices. And notice that reduction in calories, and more significantly, the bottom line there, the reduction in empty calories. The Smart Snack Standards covers all foods and beverages sold to students outside of the breakfast and lunch programs. Smart Snacks applies to all foods and beverages sold to students, including vending machines, a la carte, school stores, snack carts, and fundraising, unless it's exempted. The Smart Snack Standards do not apply to foods served or given away at school, such as in celebrations or parties. And fundraisers that take place outside of the school hours, such as evening, weekend, or community events, are not affected by the Smart Snack Standards. And what you need to know about Smart Snacks is that they set nutrient limits and limit ingredients, or set ingredient requirements for competitive foods, and set portion and calorie limits for beverages. So where do Smart Snack Standards apply? First, as I said before, they only apply to food and beverages sold to students on the school campus during the school day. And this means we define the school day as the period from the midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. And the school campus is all areas of the property under the jurisdiction of the students that are accessible to these students, or excuse me, under the jurisdiction of the school that are accessible to students during the school day. So what that means is teachers' lounge and other areas where students are not permitted are not included under the Smart Snacks rule. And all fundraising activities that take place outside of school are not covered under the Smart Snack Standards. And one caveat for you is do check your local school wellness policy to see if there's other policies in effect or any regulations related to fundraisers. There are fundraisers that are allowed during the school day that include selling foods that meet the Smart Snack guidelines and selling non-food items. And foods sold during the school day not intended to be eaten immediately can be exempt if reasonable, such as cookie dough or pizza kits. And those fundraising order forms can still go home from school with students. I mentioned fundraising exemption, And these are set by the state. So each state has the authority to set some exemptions to the fundraising regulations. And these waivers, I want to point out, are not mandatory. Just because there are waivers, it doesn't mean a school district has to use them. The state agencies do set a certain number of fundraisers that could be exempt for each district. And this map here shows you the difference between them in terms of the number of fundraisers that can be exempt. And the web link is down on the bottom if you want to take a look at that, or when you get the slides, you can go in and look further at that. But do keep in mind, again, that, as I said, local policy can be more restrictive, or can state policy. So that may overrule some of these exemptions. In addition, many states have some guidelines for these exemptions. For example, you may have to apply to get the exemption approved by your state agency and have someone who actually tracks what is being sold. So let's get back to those healthy fundraising. How can we be creative, raise funds, and support our kids' health and activities without a lot of extra work? First, let's look at non-food. A comment I got with registrations was that selling healthy food isn't always the best example because kids still get the unhealthy stuff outside of school. So looking instead, why don't we sell non-food? There are many items that can be used to sell. And you think about fundraising, you want something that is basically consumable or used up. Or we can sell an opportunity or an experience. So for example, garden starter kits, seeds, bulbs, and plant sales, especially if your district has a greenhouse or an agriculture program, excellent way to involve the students. Flower sales for Valentine's Day rather than candy sales. Or instead of a candygram, try a flower greeting or a balloon greeting or singing telegram. That's a choir or an a cappella group could put together. Silent auctions with donated prizes, family fun nights, game nights, and carnivals are all great opportunities to bring in the community and share that experience together and raise money. Raffles are a fun way to earn money quickly. It's a simple fundraiser. You sell tickets to your potential customer and you give them a chance to win something. And all the proceeds go to your organization beyond what it costs to get the prizes. Do remember, however, you do need to check into getting a raffle license if you wish to do a raffle for your group. And you don't always have to even have prizes for raffles or drawings. You can sell an opportunity, basically, a reserved front row seat at a school concert, a prime parking spot at an event, lunch with the principal, or a chance to cheer on the team with the school mascot at a local sporting event. Other creative fundraisers can be done in the form of plays, fashion shows, music festivals, battle of the bands, magic shows, and even pageant-type contests such as a Mr. Mascot. You can sell greeting cards, posters, or whatever with student artwork, water bottles, candles, and first aid kits. So great ways to sell things that are in use around the home and that get used up. Academic fundraisers are another great non-food fundraiser, like a trivia night where a team can buy a table and play against each other for table honors, or a science fair, math contest, or readathon. And then the participants get their families and friends to sponsor them, and all the money goes to your organization. Also, yard sales are on here, great for back to school and spring cleaning, and you can ask for donations and have students help price and get the organization activities ready, get things sold, and work the sale. A book sale is also a great way, and discount scratch cards are another option. One last thing not to forget about is the shopping donation programs that give you a percentage of purchase back directly to your school. There's online and store-specific programs. If we look at healthy food, if we want to still do a food fundraiser, this is the best way to really support a healthy lifestyle is through a healthy fundraiser. Any food that meets the Smart Snack standards can be sold anytime. And why not reinforce that by having healthy fundraisers outside of school as well? Fruit sales are one that are very popular for people. And look at replacing food sold at school in concessions with these healthy items. If you're looking at some other options, might even consider farmers market or CSA shares or snacks for the athletic program. Different ways that you can have a healthy meal through your culinary program. Opening a community restaurant that your foods classes can wait on tables and share what they've made. So different ways to serve healthy food and share with the community. And instead of selling an item, why not look at a healthy fundraiser that's based on exercise? These fundraisers get everybody moving, raise money at the same time, and support an active, healthy lifestyle. Many of these are pledge-based, and will take money donations for the numbers of baskets made, or minutes jumping rope for laps run. So you see quite a few up here: fun runs, basketball free throw contests, dance-a-thons, hippity-hop-a-thons, bike-a-thons, and another activity to think about is skills clinics. This is especially great for high school sports teams, that they can come in to a local gym, bring in students, and help them with basketball or soccer skills or a cheer clinic. And the kids get to meet the team, which is great for the younger kids. There's a really nice community outreach effort. And parents are very glad to pay money to have their kids really learn from those in the community and the sports team. The last avenue of healthy fundraising that I have to share is community service. And these are fundraisers that are usually best done with high school students. They're usually typical to a team or a group. And this is an outreach to the community, finding a need, filling that niche. So some things like this could be a child care night for a parents' night out. I know districts that will do this as a pre-holiday shopping, that they'll have babysitting and they'll have it in the gym, and the kids can run around and be active while the parents can go out in the community and shop for Christmas. Car washes are a great outdoor activity, especially for fall sports, that it's nice and warm still and they can get people interested in supporting the event. Doing yard work, such as raking, shoveling, mowing, provides a much-needed service to others. And then there's salt and mulch delivery, another way to provide a service and promote your team and group. And I would say don't forget to have the team bring their schedule or a little poster of the team that they drop off with their delivery. Again, that community outreach effort. One other part to think about is service tune-ups. This could be lawnmowers, snowblowers, and computer tune-ups that your tech class is offered as a community as a way to practice their skills and raise money at the same time. So you look at all these fundraisers and say, all right, we have a lot of ideas here. How do we get going to be successful? And there's some basic action steps to take. First of all, look at your school district policy, your wellness policy, your advertising policy, and any other policies about solicitation in school, and see what you're doing for a fundraiser and how that fits in. Then check on any state and federal standards. Talk with your parent groups about the ideas for healthy fundraising and enlist their support. Discuss with parents the importance of having consistent messages about healthy foods and beverages within the school, or sharing an active lifestyle through an active fundraiser. And we will hear in our success stories just what districts have done with these types of fundraisers. And really getting together with your parent group, your principal, your coaches, your school booster club, and the out-of-school staff, program staff, parents, and food service about these healthy options. You may need to plan ahead so that you think about what's happening. In fact, now is the perfect time to start thinking about the healthy fundraisers for next year. Enlist your students, your leaders of your groups and clubs to help you and come up with some great fundraising ideas. They may come up with some that are even better than what we listed here today. And consider bringing all the groups that participate in fundraising together to possibly develop one budget or coordinate their fundraising in a calendar so they don't compete with each other. And you can clearly outline everybody's needs. So I'm going to move on now to our case studies, our success stories. And before I do that, I just want to share one more piece of advice, and that is whenever you see a healthier fundraiser, reach out to the organizer. And if you can't support it monetarily, give them the verbal encouragement to say, hey, I really like what you're doing. What a great idea. Because they really will help people stay with these healthy fundraisers and keep them going. Just as a reminder, please enter your questions into the question box, and we will enter those at the end. So now, let's look at the real world and look at some success stories. Our first success story is getting started with Fun Run, and this is Kelly Calver, a parent here in Wisconsin, who's going to share with us the success with Fun Run 101. All right,
Hi, Jill.
Kelly.
Thanks for having me. Well, just to introduce myself, my name is Kelly Culberer, and I am the owner of FunRun 101, a company that I started a few years ago, quite unintentionally. I'm the parent of 3 kids, all at the elementary level, and I am currently a PTA president as well. When my oldest child started kindergarten, she got on the bus for the first day, and off she went, and I waited at the bus stop for her to come back that afternoon, and she did not get off. I panicked, I was calling the principal, and within minutes the bus circled back around and dropped her off. She was not paying attention because she was looking at the coupons in the entertainment book that had been sent home on the first day of school as a fundraiser. And she knows Mom likes coupons. So I was glad I got my kindergartner home safe. And as a new, eager kindergarten parent, I purchased the entertainment book. And then about 2 months later, around Christmas time, we got another catalog home, and I bought some wrapping paper and a couple gadgets that I didn't necessarily need but wanted to support my child's school. And then later that spring there was an auction, and I threw out a starting bid on a Tinkerbell doll that I didn't really want, but no one else wanted it either, and I now have the Tinkerbell doll. And after this first year of my fundraising experience, I thought, you know, there's got to be a better way to do this. I want to support my child's school, but I don't want to be buying things that I don't need, and I don't want to be buying things that aren't healthy. What can we do? And I talked with our parent organization and volunteered to organize a fun run. And Jill, I'll have you advance the slide there. And some of the benefits of a fun run is it avoids selling products of any kind. Yes, there's a lot of great things that you can sell and do that are in line with healthy fundraising, but we decided to go the route of selling nothing at all. Instead, we collect donations from our parents and neighbors and friends in support of their students running. We are able to direct more money back to our school. Product sales typically net about 40 to 60% of total sales. So if a school sells $10,000 worth of product, the school is only going to realize, you know, maybe $5,000 of that. Fun runs, depending on how you implement them, can net upwards of 90% of the donations. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on the different ways that they can be implemented, but it's a great way to direct almost 100% of the money that parents are contributing right back to the schools. We like being able to engage our students and staff in a helpful activity, and they're doing it together. And this is right up the lines of what Jill has been discussing with changing that paradigm shift within the schools with having a helpful activity. We'll advance the slides. Some of the other benefits of a fun run is it really builds a sense of community within the school itself. The first time we did a fun run, I had a teacher come up to me afterwards and say, you know, I've been a teacher for 20 years, and this is hands down the best day I've ever had as an educator. The kids have so much fun. The teachers have so much fun. The parents have so much fun. It's a great way to build that sense of community and bring everyone together for something fun. We're connecting with our district wellness initiatives with a large group action. Not only are we getting out there and running together and being healthy in those respects, but we provide a helpful post-race snack as well. We look for things like bananas, string cheese, oranges, things that we want our children to be fueling their bodies with, as opposed to the candy bars or the prepackaged chips and things that we see a lot after sporting events. We're trying to teach them the right way to refuel their body. We're providing a way for everyone to participate. Within schools, there's people that are going to be able to fundraise with you and those that are not. By doing a fun run, you are allowing every student the chance to participate and be a part of what's going on, whether they are able to fundraise or not. They can still run even if they can't fundraise. And last of all, we put the fun back in fundraiser. If you were to go into schools where we've done these runs and ask students, what's your favorite day of the year? most of them will come back and say the day of the run, the day of the run. They look forward to it. It really becomes a tradition within the school. Moving forward, I wanted to talk to you specifically about Royal Oaks Elementary School in Sun Prairie. Royal Oaks is a great example. It's the Sun Prairie area is a very ethnically and socioeconomically diverse group. We're pulling from across a lot of different lines. Just to give you a little bit of background, the school itself has a 20% free and reduced lunch rate. That's important because it's kind of an indicator of families' abilities to participate in fundraising. But while it is an indicator, it's not a limiting factor. And as we move forward, I'll give you some different examples there. Every parent wants to help, but not all can. That is important to kind of have a gauge of what your parent group looks like. Is your parent group active? Do they support the different initiatives that you have going through the year? Royal Oaks does have a very active parent group. And last but not least is, are your parents accessible? Do you have open communication channels with them? Do you have Facebook pages, email groups, monthly newsletters, ways of getting information out so you can share these ideas of what's going to be going on with your fundraising with them? Royal Oaks does have accessible communication channels. And Jill, can we advance to get the graphic on that? Thank you. Royal Oaks has been doing fun runs for 4 years, and there's some interesting statistics I want to point out in this table. The first year they did a fun run, they raised $18,500, which was amazing. Their goal was $10,000, and we'll get that back. They had 430 students that year. 61% of them actively fundraised or got donations for the laps that they ran. That's an average of about $70 per fundraiser, and that was wonderful. The parents loved the event, the kids loved the event, the teachers loved the event, and I said, let's do it again next year. So the next year we did it again, and they raised $22,000. Can we go back one, Jill? Raised $22,000, and that year we had a couple more students, but that percentage of fundraising students stayed the same, 61%, but they brought in an average of $75 that year because they saw that we did that one fundraiser, we covered our budget, and they didn't have to sell or buy anything else that year. That year we also put in a fun new piece of playground equipment with the extra money we purchased, or that we raised. And the parents liked that. They saw that and they said, okay, next year we're doing the run, and $25,500. 62% participated and brought in an average of $87 per student. And in the fourth year we were up to $30,000 and an average of $97 per student. The thing that's exciting here is you can see the buy-in over time that's occurring. The parents are recognizing that, yes, this is fun. Yes, it is meeting our budget needs. Yes, it's providing us with extra money to do extra things within the school, and I am on board 110%, and every year they're donating more. We're not necessarily recruiting more people to donate, but the ones that do are buying in 100%. Moving forward, other schools started taking notice of what we were doing and wanted to get on board with us. And this is a chart of some of the other schools in the local area here that I've worked with to implement fundraisers in their school. And as if you just look at quick glance at the average dollars per fundraiser brought in, it's ranging anywhere from $60 to $100, which is amazing. A couple specific ones I want to point out. Halfway down you'll see a free and reduced lunch of 36% on 3 different lines. This is the same school. They've done 3 runs. The first run that they did, they had a 36% of their group fundraised. They brought in $95 $1,200, which was phenomenal for this school. They were overjoyed. They then, the next year, had a new principal. And the new principal wasn't so sure, didn't know what this was about, hadn't seen the first one, and wasn't as willing to put the message forward. And they were not quite as successful that year. They had $7,000. Still a great fundraiser for them, but not as successful as the previous one because they lost that ability to communicate to their parents because of the hesitation from the principal. Principal saw how great it was, and so when they did it the third year, that new principal was right on board. They made $10,000, and they're up to $80 per fundraiser. The last one I want to point out on this page is down at the bottom, we've got 38% free and reduced lunch rate with 50% fundraising. They made $21,000 and $87 per fundraiser. They had a playground initiative tied to that, and the parents were so excited to be doing something healthy and fun and knowing that all of the money that was raised from their run would be directed towards a new playground. They jumped right on board and they were willing to support that. We talked earlier about that free and reduced lunch being an indicator, but not necessarily a limiting factor. I've worked with schools that have much higher free and reduced lunch rates, and they can still be very successful. One in particular, a smaller school of only 300 students with a 45% free and reduced lunch rate, still brought in $13,000, which for a school of that size was more than enough to cover their entire annual budget and then give them some fun money as well. Moving forward, and just one last note, a lot of these numbers that you've seen, they've they translate really well both within the schools right in my local area, within Wisconsin, and with other states, schools in other states that I have worked with. Everything seems to run right within those guidelines of bringing in between about $60 to $90 per active fundraiser. So how do we get started? If we want to do a fun run of our own, we've talked about knowing that population. What is your past fundraiser profitability and participation? Have your parents supported other initiatives that you've had? What is your financial goal, and is it achievable with a fun run? I know a lot of groups use the zero-balanced budgeting and figuring out what they need for a year. Once you have that budget set, do you think, based on knowing your population and that you've got $60 to $90 per fundraiser coming in, can we do this? Can we cover our budget with one fun fundraiser? Engaging your key players in discussion. Talk with your administrators about the benefit of a fun run. I showed you the example of where a new principal's hesitation impacted their bottom line. It's important to have those key players on board with you. Find a group or a person that's willing to be in charge. A lot of times that's SCOs or PTAs or PTOs. Sometimes it can be your physical education teachers or your health teachers or a principal or an assistant principal. I've worked with people in all those different capacities in implementing runs in their own schools. And then most importantly, communicating with your families about this paradigm change. Why are you changing your fundraising strategy? What will we be doing? Why is it beneficial? And how can they support it? If parents understand what you're doing and why you're making these changes, they're more likely to climb on board with you. Bring them along for the ride on the learning bus as you're going through this process, and the buy-in will be there and they will be ready to support you. And then you need to choose your method of implementation. And we talked about this earlier where you can net up to 90+% of your profits. And a lot of this depends on your volunteer capabilities. How many people do you have that are willing to step up and put in the work? Because any fundraiser that you do is going to require a certain amount of legwork. Sometimes you have more people, sometimes not as many that are willing to help. With fun runs, they're not new. Fun runs have been around forever, and there's all sorts of different providers out there. There's full service providers where you can hire them. They'll come in and do all the work. They'll give you everything you need to hand out to students and parents. They'll give you all of your prizes, but then just like selling cookie dough or anything else, they'll take 40 to 60% of the profits for their efforts. And that's not to say it's a bad thing. Based on your volunteer availability, that might be the way to go, but you're still having a healthy fundraiser. There's a how-to category, which is what my business Fun Run 101 falls into, where we have a lower fee. And all of the money beyond that goes directly to the school. We provide a roadmap to success where you're given all of the tools that you need to implement your own, but you need to do the legwork. You're just not starting from scratch. You do need a few more volunteers to do that, but you at least have a roadmap. You know what to do and how to implement it. You're not wondering and questioning and trying to recreate the wheel. Or you can build your own. You can start with just one person in an office, which is what I did, and said, okay, how are we going to do this? And with that, there's zero fees. You get to keep 100%, but it is starting from scratch and does require more time. So depending on your volunteer capabilities, find the method that works for you and go with that. So as Jill mentioned, a lot of times taking that first step is the most difficult thing when you're changing your fundraising methods and making that paradigm shift. There's risk involved with moving away from proven money. So the best thing you can do is just start having these conversations about aligning your actions with your goals, and have the conversations with your key players. Lay the foundation, bring others on board with you, and then as a group, do what you need to do to connect the dots and implement a healthy fundraising strategy in your own school. Well, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly, for the great and inspiring talk about a fun run. And I can just say, as my own children go to the Royal Oak School as well, so what a great fun day it was to come and watch the run that they were running their laps. I want to continue with success stories and move on to North Carolina. Kelly Langston is our Action for Healthy Kids State Coordinator in North Carolina, and I would like Kelly to share some success stories with us that have happened in North Carolina. If you want to hold on a minute, Kelly, I'll get you unmuted and you will be all set. Okay, Kelly, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. I am super excited about sharing some of our successful healthy fundraisers here in North Carolina. I kind of got involved with this whole thing with my 4 kids being through school, and similar to what Kelly shared with you, I have closets full of supplies that I don't necessarily need. And I've got kids in elementary, middle, and 2 in high school. And I volunteer a lot in the schools through their parent organizations. So kind of seeing firsthand some great things across the state of North Carolina that schools have done that have been successful in this move as they are more conscious to what the best and most helpful for our student success. So really setting that message across the board of what we do. So one of the things here in Guilford County, which is where I live, is a fun run. And this school used to sell a lot of unhealthy foods and sell a lot of wrapping papers, and they kind of made a climate shift to moving towards healthy in all that they did, and this was just one of the many things they did, and they did it over time so no one got really anxious, and it kind of helped eliminate some of those fears that people had, as Jill had mentioned on the survey, was a concern for folks. So this fun run, what this parent group did, they went out to community groups and medical providers in the community. And we found that orthodontists, dentists, local restaurants, pediatricians, family docs, eye care centers were really interested in sponsoring something that was healthy, but that would also get their name on something that these students and their families were going to see. So they were really quite willing to donate $500, $1,000, some even $2,500, just simply to have their name on a T-shirt for the day of the fun run. The other thing they did was they allowed students to collect sponsors for the number of laps they were going to run, so they could do the traditional going to their neighbors and getting grandma and aunts and uncles to pledge for the laps that they would run. They had healthy foods donated for the event. So again, we found local grocery stores who were very willing to provide cut fruit, water, and some of the bigger chains tend to be more willing to provide gift cards, which was also useful because you could buy healthy foods with that or use them as prizes. The kids would run around the track, so the administrator just simply had to allow for instruction time to be allowed outside. And our state has a policy where all children K-8 are required to have 30 minutes of physical activity a day, so this could qualify certainly as their physical activity for the day. And then they would win healthy non-food prizes. Again, some of these local medical providers were very willing to provide jump ropes, pedometers, things that had their logo on it, and we could use those as prizes. Next slide, Jill. And I'm just giving a quick overview of some of these fundraisers, and Jill's got our contact information listed on a slide, so if you want details, please reach out to me and I'll go in further detail on some of these events. So this is a fun one that was mentioned in Jill's community service slide, spreading mulch in Wake County. Wake County is the Raleigh area in North Carolina. And this is really funny because this was shared. I have not participated in this myself, but I know schools that have. And the families sell mulch. And the thing that I like about this, oftentimes, especially with the older kids, the high school students who are quite able to get out there and do some work, the parents tend to still have to do all the work for the fundraising to help support the student activities. So I like when we can engage our students in taking on some of that work responsibility. So this one, the families sell mulch, or you could fill in pansies, bulbs, anything, salt, anything that you could think of that would be an outdoor sale. And the students would deliver it with parents, usually, and they would spread the mulch. And the funny thing is, the high school girls were very helpful in getting families to buy mulch from some of the guys that they wanted to have come over and actually spread the mulch in their yard. So we found that not only were the parents selling the mulch, the high school students were actually out there trying to get their friends to buy it too, so that the people that they wanted to come work in their yard for the day would come to their house. It was a non-food sale, obviously. It provided physical activity, and so I think that was kind of a cool idea to let the students actually take part in that as well. The third one, the silent auctions. We see great success in this, and the silent auctions can be part of any other event that you're already having. So if you're having a parent curriculum night, you can include a silent auction. The parent group can include that. If you're having a sporting event, you can also include a silent auction. So that's the neat thing about silent auctions. Jackson County is in the western part of our state, so I tried to include fundraisers from across our state. And organizations that are having the silent auctions, of course, collect items. And we found gym memberships are really quite easy to get because it's minimal cost to the gym, and then they have a potential gym membership when that free membership, year-long free membership is up. So this was a really successful event that happened out in Jackson County. Parking spots, as Jill had mentioned earlier too, are really high-priced ticket items. People will bid a lot of money to get a front row spot at the school for their needs. And again, silent auctions look for pediatricians and dentists and orthodontists in the community to be quite willing to donate to these. Also check with your membership if you're a member organization, or if you're a booster club, the family members on the team, to see if anyone in your organization has a beach house or a lake house or a co-op or anything that they're willing to give up a week. Those are other high price items. And the other thing you can do is put together baskets, so it's a little less financial burden on folks to collect one item, and then you pull them all together for a basket. And the last one I have on here are fall and spring festivals. And we've all seen these festivals, and they just seem to be a breeding ground for unhealthy foods. So really trying to replace And again, not change it all one year, but just slowly over time start getting people to think about what are some healthier options to have. Pumpkin sales are great in the fall, obviously. In the spring, you can have pansy sales and garden sales like herbs, selling herbs and tomatoes, fruits and vegetables. And replacing the traditional cakewalk, get creative with this. You can get gift cards donated to gas and grocery stores, and those can be your rewards or your prizes. Obviously, the jump ropes with logos, again, the medical providers are really happy to provide those and put their logo on it. But also, when they win the cakewalk, and you would call it something cute and catchy, different, obviously, you can take it one step further and allow them to donate it to their favorite teacher or allow them to donate it to their favorite cause. So those can be really creative, and you can do physical activity with them as well. Our festivals here in North Carolina tend to have parades. So instead of throwing the candy during the parade, see if they're willing to throw seed packets or those jump ropes or pedometers or different things instead of just always going to the unhealthy, because that's just what we've done for so long. It's what comes to mind. But I find when you give people other ideas, they're quick to jump onto that. Incorporating a fun run with it is also another great idea, and invite the local groups that work with children around the community to come and have a booth and set up and provide an activity so if people are there they can stop by the different booths and see what is in the community and take part in some kind of physical activity at that booth instead of the cotton candy and the snow cones that tend to be given away. So again, that's really what I have, and thanks for letting me share.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. We're going on to the next success story that is from Nebraska, and we have Ashley Carroll, our Action for Healthy Kids State Coordinator from Nebraska, who's going to share with us. Nebraska's Ashley Carroll, excuse me. Take it away.
Thanks, Jill. I'm thrilled to be able to share some of the ways in which Sunset Hills Elementary in Omaha, Nebraska has been successful in implementing healthy fundraisers. To begin, let me give you a little background about the school. Sunset Hills has about 150 students in pre-kindergarten through 6th grade, so they're a fairly small school. And I believe their success with healthy fundraising is really attributable to the engagement of their PTO, which they call the Community Club. And I love that name because it's very evocative of their mission. They really do a great job of leveraging community partners to sponsor activities and provide goodwill donations, which helps increase their profit margins. And please keep in mind that as I read through a list of these healthy fundraisers, the parents have really been the catalyst for the introduction of these healthy fundraisers. It's just been an evolution as they, learn about new opportunities to promote student health. Their community club has been very receptive in trying these new things. So here is a list of their annual healthy fundraisers. They have an art and soup night, they have a school carnival, spirit merchandise sales, student directory, holiday plant sales, a book fair, Target Education Rebate Program, and Hy-Vee Receipts Rebate Program. And then at the bottom of the page here is a list of healthy events that are certainly enriching, but they don't use them as revenue generators, but you certainly could with a little bit of reformatting, such as charging admission. And those events are the talent show, the fun run, and the family back-to-school picnic. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to highlight a few of their largest fundraisers. This is Art and Soup Night, and highlights of this event are a soup and chili contest. So Sunset Hills families actually donate most of the food consumed. There are a student art showcase, hands-on art stations, and face painting. And all the proceeds go to the Sunset Hills Arts Program to provide art supplies and allow resident artists to visit the school and share their craft to inspire students. Pictured here are the resident artists this past year, which was Lisa Whirl and Bart Vargas, who was on site talking about what they worked on with students. And then up there on the stage you can just see a little bit of that student art showcase. But what you'll notice here is this event brings in between $1,000 and $1,500 for the school, and they charge $0 for admission. It is free to take part in the event. All the money raised is through voluntary cash donations from parents. And I can tell you from experience that there are lots of healthy choices in the chili and soup contest. This year, the winning soup was chicken and gnocchi, which is chock full of delicious vegetables. And since the event takes place in late February, there were also many vegetarian chilies and various vegetable-based soups for those observing Lent. And this event, they have about 7 people on the planning committee, and then the night of, they utilize about 15 parent volunteers just to, help with the soup sampling and the different art stations and that sort of thing. So here's just a couple more pictures from the event. There's the student art showcase and a lovely model from the face painting station, which in my opinion is mandatory at a student event. And then the bottom 2 pictures there are some of those interactive art stations. So on to the next event, which is the carnival. This occurs every 2 years and brings in about $2,000 for the school. And that's from the sale of tickets for games, food, raffle prizes, and a silent auction of student artwork. This one has a lot more moving pieces. So it requires up to, and probably more so than 20 to 25 parent volunteers the night of. They utilize a free volunteer registration site to get parent volunteers for about 1-hour shifts. And that's just simply because they have 20 plus carnival game stations. They have 3 huge inflatables, including the bounce house that you see there. They also have a huge obstacle course, giant inflatable slides, another face painting station, and balloon art. So lots of ways that kids can get active and have a good time with their families, all while making money for the school, which is great. And on this slide here, I've got some additional healthy fundraisers that they do throughout the year, and I'll just give you a brief description of each. So they do the poinsettia sales right before the holiday break, and that requires really minimal volunteer engagement. I think they have 3 volunteers that coordinate plant sales, and that brings in $200. Then they do the spiritware sales, and this is really great, and a lot of kids participate in the t-shirt design contest, and then their peers vote on which drawing will be featured on the t-shirt that year. T-shirts and sweatshirt sales, they had about 159 sold this fall, which brought in $500 in revenue. And then they also do directory sales, and participation in the student directory is completely voluntary, but it's designed to strengthen community ties. A family can list their address, their phone number, and their parent emails. Each directory is sold for $10 each. But really the revenue generator of the directory sales is the ad sales. So they solicit ad space from local businesses in the area to feature their business, and that's really where they get a lot of the money for a directory. Then they also do the original artworks program, and this is great because the parents can purchase coasters, magnets, aprons, and all kinds of keepsakes with their child's artwork printed on them, and that brings in $400. And then finally, the Target Take Charge of Education rebate program is great because I don't know of anybody that doesn't shop at Target, honestly, and this is really easy way for parents to contribute some of the money that they are purchasing normally through the sale of necessities and giving back to their school. So the principal made an account on the Target Take Charge of Education page and made an account for Sunset Hills, and then the parents were reminded at the beginning of the year just to link their red card to the school, and that brings in about $750 annually. And really quickly, I just want to remind you that all of these efforts will be for naught unless you promote your events properly and consistently, and the community club at Sunset Hills does a great job of that. They send flyers home in student backpacks. The student government representatives make posters that they put throughout the school. They maintain a community club bulletin board with reminders of events and ways that parents can volunteer. They also send out a monthly newsletter and get reminders out in the principal's digital newsletter that comes out each week. They will put out yard signs for the carnival and then send one-off community club emails to their listserv. So one key takeaway from the community club operations, I would say, is definitely vetting, supporting, and recognizing your PTO members to ensure you have talented, passionate people who can contribute their time, who understand what you're trying to accomplish and know what needs to be done, and who feel that their effort is acknowledged and appreciated. And many will say that the smiles on those kiddos' faces during the carnival or the picnic is all they need to see to know that their hard work was worth it. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. And we have one more distinguished guest to share with us, and that is our Mississippi State Coordinator, Tanitra Wicks, and she will talk to us about some of the happenings in Mississippi.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you, Jill. I'm very excited to share with you some of the great things that are occurring here in Mississippi. I'm going to first kind of go over some of the things that are going on in Mississippi, how our schools are really thinking outside of the box when it comes to fundraising compared to some of the traditional activities that have occurred in the past, such as selling food and some of the other things that Jill explained earlier in her comprehensive list of traditional fundraisers. Some schools host a basketball tournament or conduct a league, and all that they do is pretty much donate the space and volunteer time to open up the school so the basketball teams in the community can come and play as a fundraiser, or also hosting an athletic game. One of the principals really was excited about hosting athletic events because he said that he was able to get some fathers really involved and they're able to participate. He said his PTO consisted of people that were mostly females. So he was very excited about a different fundraiser that involved more dads, and they even hosted a father-son games that helped them raise funds. We've talked about walks and runs and how successful they can be, so that has also been successful here in Mississippi. Some schools conduct obstacle courses or mazes, especially during the fall time, harvest festival time, so to speak. They have scavenger hunts to help raise funds. So one thing that I'm really going to highlight today, and I'm going to go through very quickly because I know time is running out for us, is a wellness festival. You can go to the next slide for me, Jill. One of our schools has been conducting wellness festival for a few years now, and they've been very successful. And some of the ways that they receive money, one of the top ways is donations and sponsorship. The school that I'm talking about, they do not have to put in their own funds because they receive donations from companies and parents, so they use the funding from that to sponsor the wellness festival. They also have sponsorship, so many companies may want to rent a booth or may want to just donate, to have their name posted somewhere. So they receive most of their funds from sponsorship and then vendor booth rental. And when it comes to vendor booth rental, there are different prices. Some nonprofits are charged less versus those companies that are going to sell items or companies that are for-profit. There also, what really well was a dunking booth. So they had a company that sponsored a dunking booth, and the actual owner of the company sat in the dunking booth. So his employees spent most of their money trying to dunk their boss. And it was a great event and a great fun for also the kids because they had the principal and the vice principal and a couple of teachers that sat in the dunking booth. So the kids and parents had the opportunity to try and dunk their teachers and the principal. Another great thing that happened at the Wellness Festival is a silent auction sale. There were donations from companies and also some arts and crafts provided by the arts teacher and the different students in her class. They charged minimal amount for admission. It was $1 for adults and 50 cents for kids. So that brought in a little revenue. And there was also an interactive arts and crafts section where the kids were able to make something that they were actually able to bring home. This is the interactive art table that I was telling you about. And in this picture, it was a collaboration between the Extension Office that provided the seeds, USDA and RCS, which provided the soil, and the arts and craft skills that helped with the painting. So the kids were able to paint a pot, and then they were able to plant the seed and take the seed home, the seed with soil, home to then grow a bean that they were given. So they had the extension agent who taught them all about growing their own fruits and vegetables and talked about health and nutrition, and the kids were charged, I think, $1 to participate in this, so this also brought in money, and everything was donated to the kids, so they were able to participate in that. Next slide, please, Jill. There was also a healthy cooking demonstration. No fees were associated with this. One of the great things about this is a local chef, who was actually a parent, was able to come and donate his time to steam some vegetables, and all of the fruits and vegetables were donated by farmers. Next slide, please, Jill. There was a wide variety of vendors. They did not just stick with companies. There were some nonprofits like the health department, and then some for-profit businesses. And really, they encouraged all the for-profit businesses, if you were going to sell foods, to follow the smart snacks guidelines. So they gave them the smart snacks guidelines, and if they were going to sell food, they let them know. So many of the things that were sold were peanuts, and there was like popcorn and different things of that nature. Next slide, please. Some of the tips for success is planning. Planning is very important. Ashley mentioned promotion, which is wonderful, and without people there you don't have an event. But after promotion, you should also make sure you plan. Planning is very important, because if you spend the time planning, you may not have to use any funding. You may have a great volunteer base that helps support everything. So I recommend starting planning a month or a year ahead of time, and have a planning committee that consists of volunteers, and sometimes you might have to have some people that were voluntold to be a part of this planning committee. Have a wide variety of people on the planning committee that are diverse, include parents, business owners, and really engage both public and private businesses and community-based organizations. So it's very good to have that partnership / collaboration that includes both the public and the private sector. Identify resources. You have many parents that may not be a part of the PTO but are not as active. Talk to the kids and see what their parents do, and there may be a reason why they can't come to PTO meetings. One of the schools, they had a parent who most of her business occurs at night. She owned a salon, so most people go and get their hair done at night. So she was not able to come to the meetings at night. So one of the things that they did was they reached out to her in non-traditional ways, and we're going to talk about that later. And she actually was one of their biggest donors, and not just financially, but she was able to bring many people to the table, but based on her connections. So, like I said, sponsorship and donations, it's very important. So during the planning time, they started recruiting people to volunteer and donate and sponsor things. And also establish guidelines and rules. With the Smart Snacks guidelines and rules, if you're going to have vendors that are going to sell things, let them know up front, hey, these are the guidelines and rules that we need you all to follow, so they know. So the day of, they don't break those rules and you have to handle it then. It's handled ahead of time. Next slide, please, Jill. Potential volunteers could be the fire department, the police department, extension services, farmers. It was great to have farmers at our event. They sold fresh fruits and vegetables, and they were able to donate for the cooking demonstration where we didn't have to pay for anything. Merchants, local businesses, they can actually sponsor tables, and like the local business sponsored the Dunkin' booth, which ended up being the third highest revenue generated from the event. That was a great thing. The health department, which can often give healthy demonstrations and provide educational tips, and other community-based organizations. Next slide, please, Jim. So in summary, don't reinvent the wheel. There are many things that other people do to raise funds that you actually can do at a school. For instance, Touch a Truck. So Touch a Truck is an event where they bring in trucks and kids are allowed to touch the trucks. It has been a successful fundraiser out in the community. You actually do something similar at this school. In the Wellness Festival, they brought many trucks there. They brought a fire truck, they brought a cement truck, and the kids really enjoyed actually looking at the trucks and then being there. It didn't cost any money, and a lot of the companies just donated time. They just rode the trucks there, and it allowed the kids something else to do with the Wellness Festival. So on one hand, don't reinvent the wheel, but also think outside of the box with the traditional fundraising. Brainstorm with your diverse planning committee, because everybody can bring something to the table. Also try to accommodate as many people as you can with the meeting schedule. Conference calls. Have conference calls. Subcommittees can meet on their own. Emails, phone calls are always a great great way to communicate. Yes, text messaging is also a way to connect with people at once, for instance, group chat. So if, all right, thank you, Jill. Oh, Jill? Oh, I thought you were trying to close me off because of time. I know the time.
No problem there.
Okay.
Thank you, Tanitris. I have the contact information for Kelly, Ashley, Tanitris, and the other Kelly up here that will also be included in the slides that you will get. I know we're running a little bit over time. If you want to hang on for some questions and resources, I hope to have this wrapped up by about 3:15 today. So in terms of resources, just want to point out a couple things. The Action for Healthy Kids Parent Toolkit is a great resource that we have online. The web address is here. It is in English and in Spanish. Team Nutrition and USDA have information about not only healthy fundraising, but healthy snacks and resources for smart snacks for looking further into those guidelines. As Tanitris mentioned, sharing those with your vendors, USDA has a great handout on their website that focuses on smart snacks. And then CDC on their Healthy Youth page has a plethora of resources for healthy schools. Want to just point out the tip sheets, and I know this is not meant to be read right here online. I just want to show you we have two for healthy fundraisers on family health and well-being and healthy food sales before, during, and after school. Those are available on our website for download, and you can print them off and use them how you see fit. So in terms of questions via our question box, a couple questions came in related to fun runs and looking at how do you get a fun run started, how are the pledges collected, those kind of things. Kelly Calver, I'd like to start with you a little bit. What do people do at a fun run?
The way that I structure the runs that the schools I work with do, we do it during the school day. It allows everyone the chance to participate, whether they're actively fundraising or not. We keep them on a closed loop so we don't have to worry about road blockages. We keep everyone together in a really fun environment. And in terms of collecting pledges, it can be done manually, it can be done online, it can be done in a combination of ways. When I work with a school, every school is different, and so it's hard to say this is the way you do it because every group is different. So I like to talk with the school and kind of see what their specific needs are and build the program to meet those needs. But really starting it is just finding a way, deciding that you want to do it, and then going back and researching those different companies. Do I want a company that is going to come in and really bear a lot of the burden for me? Do I just want someone that's going to give me the tools I need in a roadmap, the how-tos of doing this step by step, or do I want to create my own entity and make it my own from the beginning?
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Otherwise, Kelly Langston, you did fun runs in North Carolina. Any other strategies you think that would help increase fun run participation?
I would make a list of all of your potential community partners. So, and then divide up who's going to go ask, and go ahead and get your sample letter written up of what you're doing, what it will support, and people, even though you may use it for a general fund, people may want to know what your main goal is to use the money for. So kind of have that in mind, what you're planning on using the funds for, to develop a letter, develop a list of potential donors in your community, and then have a strategic plan of who's going to hit those community partners, because some probably already have relationships with them.
Okay. Ashley, a question for you about your volunteers at the carnival. How did you get volunteers signed up to help out at the carnival?
Yes, so there is a free service called Sign Up Genius, and they just asked for parents to sign up for 1-hour shifts. The event was from 6 to 9 in the evening, and we've never had a problem filling all the spots.
Wonderful. I do want to point out, I got several questions about the slides for the presentation. A link to the audio recording and a copy of the slides will be sent out to everyone who registered. So you will be able to get that copy. And if for some reason you want to share it, feel free to share it. The copy will also be on the Action for Healthy Kids website. that you can download it. I do want to also point out that Action for Healthy Kids has a volunteer registration center as well that you can register events for volunteers. You can go online and look at our Get in the Action Center, see what is available to help you out there. One question about the fun run that came up in terms, and I guess this would be true for any type of healthy fundraiser, is was there any initial resistance that first year that you changed your fundraiser? And if so, how do you convince the powers that be at the school, whether it be the parent group leader or the administrator, to try the fun run or try a healthy option? And Demetrius, maybe I'll start with you. Any thoughts you would have in terms of convincing a doubting audience about changing their fundraisers?
Well, what I would recommend is using some of the success stories that you've heard today. For instance, some people include in the slide, and if you email me, I can share with you the actual numbers and the success of the what's been done in other schools. Actually, what we're finding and what many of the schools have told me is that when they switch over to runs and tournament and some other things, they're actually making more money because they don't have the overhead of having to send 40% or 60% back to the company that's helping them. So if they host a wellness festival, they're making more money. So one way to sell them is to share our success stories that we've shared here on the call. So you have all of our contact information, so you may want to reach out to some of us individually and say, hey, how did you do that? And then if you share those things with your schools, then that's how you kind of create buy-in. So I would say share the success of others.
All right. Ashley, anything you can think of in terms of generating interest and success and support?
Yeah, I would agree with the fact that you just have to build support from the beginning. So don't throw it on parents that you are changing up their traditional fundraisers. I think you have to start by explaining the rationale behind it and saying that you're making a commitment to student health to promote physical activity and healthy eating while raising money. And I think all parents want to contribute to those things and do feel it's important, but don't necessarily consider those things initially when they talk about fundraising. It's just all, this is the way we've always done things. So clearly communicating to parents why you're making a change, and then sharing those success stories that yes, healthy fundraisers can be profitable, I think really lessens resistance.
And Kelly Langston, any thoughts that you would like to add?
I think that's a good point that Ashley brought up. I think it's just over time you think about what is one step we can make today, and don't think about just changing it all at one time because people just get fearful. And I think you just take that baby step and you think, what is it that we have some buy-in around now? And maybe it's just adding a healthy fundraiser before you take away something else. So really thinking about where your energy is, where your buy-in is, and just start small, and people see the success, because we are seeing success with healthy fundraisers, and then I think that generates excitement. So keeping it positive and will increase your buy-in over time.
Great. And Kelly Kalber, would you like to share a little bit about the fun runs in terms of a targeted outcome for the fundraiser, in terms of a way to increase success, participation, and buy-in?
It's been an interesting process to watch as I've helped several different schools come on board with it. And going back to that transition, some of the schools have had to deal with what you could even call a breakup with a fundraising vendor of the past, and they've had to transition out of that, and we've helped them do that. But some of those overall goals in the building, moving it forward, it's been really fun to see them say, okay, well, this is our goal for this year. This year we're just going to, like was just mentioned, we're going to implement the healthy fundraiser, but we're still going to use Mrs. Z's to bring in the inflatables for this activity and then transition out of that. So I think that those small goals and moving towards something bigger are great. And the opportunities to continue to build on a fun run and the healthy fundraiser is really kind of unlimited. Every year our committees come to the table with new ideas of what can we add this year to make it even bigger and better. And it's just keeps gaining momentum. So it's been a great transition for the schools in our area.
Wonderful. One last question before I wrap it up is that how do you get a farmers markets or CSAs to become involved in terms of fundraising? And part of this is partnering with the CSA, talking with them if they are willing to do some type of a group share or having a drop site at your school. So you have something there that the schools can, you know, become a partner that way. They may be then able to give a portion of the proceeds to the school as a fundraiser. I know schools otherwise may rent out their parking lot for a farmer's market that they'll, you know, charge a booth space so that people can come in and sell items. And this is something, if you are really looking at this, I strongly encourage you to talk to your health department and look at some way that this farmer's market can also be beneficial to those on SNAP or other assistance benefits. I know of schools that have actually had pickup spots and things and worked it that they could accept SNAP benefits, and it was something that was well received by the schools. And actually some groups brought in even donation nights and things. And I know one school that had free food giveaway kind of things as part of their promotion. Every single student in the school came back to school that night for their health fair and to get that bag of food that they had and to get people, you know, involved in what was going on. So, you know, really a great community effort as well. At this time, then, I would like to thank you all for attending and hanging in with us a little bit to cover those questions. And be on the lookout for your slides and additional handouts. And any questions, you may feel free to email me, or I can send out the list of our success story participants. So thank you all for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of the day.